following the arrest of John Kapoor, the founder of Insys Therapeutics, for conspiring to bribe doctors to prescribe addictive painkillers to patients that didn't need them.
It took 15 days for a federal jury in Boston to find former Insys Therapeutics chairman John Kapoor and 4 other former company executives guilty as part of what prosecutors described as a nationwide conspiracy.
The BBC reported John Kapoor, the former billionaire, was found guilty of racketeering conspiracy for his role in a scheme which also misled insurers. Along the way, Insys Therapeutics had a rap video made to educate their employees on boosting sales for its Fentanyl Spray, Subsys, an obvious homage paid toward the crack-slinging epidemic of the 1980s into the early 90s.
Bad, well, I'm the baddest. I was created in the lab in the land of the cactus. I'm the man, understand you can't match this, even if you ran and you planned and you practice.
It became very clear that the opioid crisis, which has killed tens of thousands of Americans, is one of systemic failure brought on by the pharmaceutical kingpin's iron grip on the healthcare industry and Congress.
Do you know of any instances where branded pharmaceutical drug companies paid a generic competitor not to compete as part of a patent settlement?
So patent litigation is part of the Hatch-Waxman.
Do you know of any instances where that's happened?
I know that the Supreme Court has addressed instances where that has been the allegation.
But the American people are being played for chumps, just chumps, paying 4 times the cost for the same drug in another OECD country? We're chumps.
More people in the county are dying due to overdosing on prescription drugs, specifically painkillers.
They're going in, they're saying they have these pains, and then they're turning around and doctors are prescribing them the pain meds.
A woman is admitted to the ER for a prescription pill overdose every 3 minutes. What's more, the number of women dying from prescription pill overdoses jumped 400% between 1999 and 2010.
What did his doctors and healthcare providers say to him?
Basically that he needed to continue to take the medication. And
all of them?
All of them.
When he came home, did he continue to take all the medication?
He followed the doctor's orders.
The next month, Green died in his sleep.
This crisis is being sort of largely overlooked by the general population. People are aware of it, but they're not angry about it in a way that's really commiserate with the scope of what we're facing today. A lot of people have described it to me as sort of what we experienced in the 1980s and 90s when we faced the AIDS epidemic.
MM&M reported, "It's one thing when a drug maker targets a doctor for delivering marketing talks because he or she is a dynamic speaker. It's quite another for the manufacturer to recruit the clinician because they're a high prescriber of a particular brand who can boost sales, sometimes by writing scripts for unapproved uses." Unfortunately, the latter scenario has happened all too often at most major pharma companies. Most have paid fines for such malfeasance and have entered into so-called corporate integrity agreements with the government. But in most cases, there's been no admission of guilt for their promotional stunts. It was almost as if fines for the abuses were simply considered the cost of doing business. It's obvious that pharmaceutical lobbyists have rigged the game, and there's little Congress is willing to do about it other than continue to take their cut. Fortunately, the Trump administration is and has begun doing something about the chaos.
Over the last year, we have mobilized the entire federal government to address this crisis. We have secured $6 billion in new funding to combat opioids, the most money ever received in history.
The irony is the untouchable synthetic drug pushers legally continue their open secret via a bought and paid for U.S. Congress. A whopping $28.5 million to Democrats and Republican candidates in 2018 alone. John Bowne reporting.